The sound no one heard at night was quiet around the film set. The kind of silence that only comes when everyone's gone home and the stars are just beginning to stretch across the sky. Trailers stood like forgotten boxes scattered in the back. Dim lights flickering inside a few of them. No one noticed the one in the corner. The one where a soft sob broke the silence, like a whisper in church. Ana de Armas sat curled in the far corner of her trailer, her arms wrapped around her knees, makeup still smudged from the last scene. She hadn't bothered to wipe it off. It had been a hard day. Not just acting hard, life hard. Something inside her had been building for weeks. Small things, like people treating her like decoration, directors rushing her performance, comments on social media calling her empty, fake, too emotional, too fragile, and now it was too much. She had managed to smile on set. She always did. She laughed when the camera rolled and answered questions in interviews with grace. But behind the scenes, when the trailer door closed, something cracked. Tonight, she let it fall. She thought no one would hear. No one ever stayed this late. Not unless they had a reason, but someone did. Keanu Reeves had walked past the row of trailers, heading to his car. He had wrapped up his final scene and was supposed to go home, shower, maybe read a book like he always did. But when he passed by Anna's trailer, he heard it. A faint sound. A broken breath. He paused. He didn't knock, didn't call out. Instead, he stepped back and sat down quietly on the steps just outside her door. The night air was cool and the concrete beneath him colder, but he didn't move. He folded his hands and looked out at the empty lot, listening. Not in a nosy way, but in a still, respectful way, like someone keeping watch at a temple gate. Inside, Anna wiped her face. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. Hours passed. The sobs faded into silence. Her eyes heavy, she finally stood up and walked to the door, not knowing what time it was or how long she had sat there. She opened it slowly, thinking the lot would be empty. But she stopped. Keanu looked up, not startled, just calm, his eyes soft and steady. "Hey," said quietly. She froze. Her eyes welled up again, but she didn't cry. Not this time. "How long have you been here?" He shrugged, then looked at the sky. "Long enough." She stepped out, unsure of what to say. Well, there was no grand speech, no dramatic music. Quiet air and quiet presence. "Why?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Then finally, "You weren't alone." Anna lowered her eyes. The words settled into her chest like warm tea on a cold morning. They sat there together, not speaking. Much. Sometimes kindness doesn't need words. Sometimes it's just sitting beside someone when the world feels too loud or too empty. But even in that silence, something began to change. Because what Anna didn't know was that Keanu had seen it before, not just in others, but in himself. The quiet collapse behind the smile, the exhaustion behind the strength. And what Keanu didn't know yet was that Anna's story wasn't over. It was just beginning. She just needed someone to believe it, and for now, someone waiting outside all. Night was enough. A silence that stayed with her next morning came with golden light and the smell of brewed coffee moving through the early air. The set was still sleepy, not yet filled with chatter or cameras. Anna walked in quietly, her shoulders wrapped in a loose sweater, eyes red but calm. She had barely slept, but something inside her had shifted. People passed her with polite nods, unaware of anything different. She kept her smile light, her steps careful. But in her chest, the memory of the night before steadied Keanu, sitting outside her trailer like a silent promise. No pressure. No questions. Just presence. Keanu didn't bring it up when they saw each other that morning. He gave her a soft nod, like they had passed through a storm together and were now walking the same quiet path. He didn't act like a hero. He didn't ask if she was better. That made all the difference. Anna felt safer near him now, not because he could fix anything, but because he didn't try to. Just made space. The day went on. Scenes were shot. Interviews were recorded. People laughed at things that didn't matter. All through it, Anna noticed the little ways Keanu moved. When the assistant director shouted at a lighting technician, Keanu walked over and helped the technician move. The light himself, when a young extra dropped her prop and whispered an apology. Keanu picked it up and said, "You're doing great." When Anna flinched during a scene, not from acting, but from something deeper. Some memory triggered, Keanu gently changed the blocking so the moment didn't have to happen again. He never made it a thing, just noticed later that evening. While they waited for a new setup, Anna finally spoke. "Can I ask you something?" she said, sitting beside him on a low bench near the edge of the lot. Keanu turned his head toward her, listening with his whole body, like he always did. "How do you carry everything and still smile?" Keanu thought for a moment. "I don't always smile," he said simply. "And I don't carry it all." Anna frowned. "What do you mean?" "I learned to put things down. Not everything. Just enough to keep walking." She looked at the ground. "Sometimes it feels like if I put it down, no one will remember it mattered." He nodded slowly. "Some pain is heavy because it's real. It happened. But you don't have to carry the weight to honor the truth." Anna blinked, the words hitting something deep. "Was there someone who waited outside for you?" she asked softly. Keanu looked up at the sky. "No, but I learned to wait for myself." They sat in silence after that. It's the kind of silence that doesn't ask for answers. It's the kind that says, "I see you." Anna didn't realize it then, but something was beginning to change in her. Not overnight, not loudly, but like dawn, slowly melting away the dark. Because the moment you stop hiding your pain is the moment healing begins. And Keanu, without saying much, was teaching her that what neither of them knew was that tomorrow something would happen on set that would test Anna's strength and show everyone just how much she had learned. But for now, she rested in the quiet company of someone who saw her fully and didn't walk away. The script they never rehearsed its morning started like any other. Bright lights buzzed above the soundstage, makeup brushes danced across faces, and production assistants moved like quiet shadows, holding call sheets and coffees. But under all that noise, something uneasy stirred, not in the set, but in Anna herself. She had barely stepped into costume when the director called for a rewrite. Not a small one. A major change. Her character was now going to have an emotional breakdown scene. One that mirrored her own real struggle too closely. Anna read the new lines slowly. They weren't just dialogue. They were wounds dressed as performance. The scene demanded her to cry on the floor, scream into silence, and be dragged away by another character. It felt too close, too raw. Too soon, she held the pages in her hand, frozen. The room around her moved on, unaware of the storm building in her chest. Keanu walked in, already dressed for his scene, and saw her. He didn't speak, just sat across from her quietly, like the night outside her trailer. Waiting, she finally looked up, her voice barely audible. "They want me to perform my worst moment. ... like it's a show." Keanu nodded gently. "You don't have to, but I'm under contract," she whispered. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "You're not under contract to hurt yourself." Those words sat with her. She had always been the one who didn't complain, the one who worked twice as hard to prove she belonged. And now she was being asked to bleed on camera for the sake of emotional depth. Anna walked out of the trailer and onto the set. The crew was ready, lights focused, its camera positioned. The director approached, script in hand. "Anna, let's really go there. You've got pain inside. Use it. Let it out." She nodded slowly. But inside she felt like a piece of herself was being stolen. They rolled camera. She took her place on the marked spot, knees bent on the floor. Her scene partner stepped forward, ready for his cue. Then the director said, "Action." Anna sat still, her lips trembled. But she didn't speak. The line, not one word. The room waited. The director's voice cut in again. "Anna, go ahead." The line as she stood up slowly. "I know the line," she said softly, but her voice carried. "But I'm not doing it like this. Not like this." The crew looked at one another. The director stepped forward. "You have to trust the process." On his voice didn't shake. "This time, I trust myself more." The room was silent then. From the far end of the set, Keanu stepped forward. "She's right," he said. Acting is about truth, but it's not about harm. She's telling you this hurts? Listen. For a moment, it looked like the director might argue. Then something shifted. Perhaps it was the weight of Keanu's calm voice, or the way Anna stood without shaking. Maybe it was both. After a long pause, the director sighed. Okay, we'll rewrite it again, your way. Anna sat down quietly on the edge of the set, her heart pounding. Keanu walked over and handed her a bottle of water. You didn't just protect yourself, he said. You gave someone else permission to do the same one day? Anna looked up at him, and for the first time, she smiled without forcing it. Thank you, she said. Keanu smiled back. You didn't need saving, just support. That night she went home and looked in the mirror. Not to check her makeup. Not to fix her hair. Just to see herself the version she had almost lost in the noise. What Anna didn't know was that this moment would spread quietly across the crew, across people who had hidden their own hurt in silence. They had just witnessed something rare, kindness in action, strength without force, truth without damage, and Anna, without trying, had become more than just an actress. She had become someone people would remember. When silence turned into strength, next few days felt different on set. The energy had shifted. People who once rushed past Anna without a glance now paused to smile, to nod, to say a quiet, "You were brave." But she didn't seek attention. For what happened, she wasn't looking to be a hero. She just wanted peace, to act without being broken, to breathe without pretending she was fine. Keanu didn't speak much about it either. That was his way. But the way he carried himself, near her, changed too. Always close by, never intrusive. A presence. A guard, if she ever needed one. The director, surprisingly, had softened. Not overnight, but enough. He no longer barked orders the way he used to. His voice dropped lower when he spoke to Anna. He offered choices now. Sometimes people just need to be reminded that kindness is not weakness. On one of the quieter days, Anna found herself sitting beside a young intern near the catering truck. The girl looked nervous, holding a clipboard too tightly, her hands shaking slightly. Anna asked gently, "First week?" The girl nodded. "I just want to do everything right." Anna smiled. "I used to think like that. If I didn't do everything perfectly, I'd lose my chance. Did you?" The girl asked. Anna looked out at the sky. "No, but I almost lost myself." The girl's eyes widened. "What changed?" Anna thought for a moment, then said, "Someone sat outside my trailer all night once, just to make sure I wasn't alone." The girl didn't ask who. She just nodded, her face softening. Later that evening, as the crew wrapped for the day, Keanu and Anna walked to their cars together, the lot glowing under soft yellow lights. "You spoke to her?" Keanu asked, glancing toward the intern. Anna nodded. "She reminded me of who I used to be." Keanu smiled. "And you reminded her of who she could become." Anna looked over. "You always do that, don't you? Help people without making it a thing?" Keanu shrugged. "I just try not to make things worse." She laughed quietly. "You make them better?" He paused, then said softly, "I didn't always know how." "What taught you?" she asked. Keanu looked away for a moment, and quietly, loneliness. Long, hard nights, remembering what I needed and didn't get. Anna understood. It wasn't the kind of thing people talked about often, but when they did, it was like a door opening inside the heart. They stood by their cars for a moment, not rushing, just breathing in the cool air. Anna turned toward him. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Always." That night, when you waited outside, I had written a note. Keanu's eyes shifted, focused. "Not to anyone," she added quickly. "It's just something for myself. In case I didn't feel strong enough the next day." "Do you still have it?" he asked. She nodded. "I didn't throw it away, but I don't need it anymore." Keanu's voice was low and steady. "'Cause you found your strength." Anna shook her head. "'Cause someone saw me before I did." They stood there for a while longer, in that soft moment between past pain and future healing. What neither of them knew was that the next scene they'd filmed together would become more than just part of a movie. It would become a mirror of everything they'd both survived, and in that moment, the world would watch. and feel something real. The scene that changed everything the set was buzzing early that morning. Even before sunrise, crew members moved with unusual focus. Now, the energy was different, not just excitement, but something deeper.
Oh.
Today was the scene everyone had been waiting for. The emotional peak of the film. It was a delicate moment between two characters who had gone through pain, loss, silence, and reconnection. It would be filmed in one long take. No cuts, no second tries. It's just raw honesty between them. Anna felt a strange calm as she sat in the makeup chair. Her heart wasn't racing the way it usually did. She wasn't trying to suppress the nerves or fake confidence. Something inside her had settled. She was no longer acting from fear. She was simply being Keanu walked in, already in costume. He gave her a quiet nod like always. She looked up and smiled. "Ready?" "I think we've been ready longer than we thought," he said softly. The set was quiet when they stepped onto the stage. Lights were low, creating a warm, private atmosphere. The director gave them space. Cameras rolled from a distance. No yelling. No countdowns. Keanu and Anna stood facing each other. The scene was simple. Their characters had been apart, both wounded in their own ways. And this was the moment they saw each other again, truly saw each other. Anna's voice came first, but it didn't feel like acting. "I thought if I kept smiling, no one would notice how tired I was." Keanu's reply was steady. I noticed Anna's eyes shimmered. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I didn't want to take away your strength. I just wanted to remind you it was still there." Her breath caught, but she didn't. "Look away, you waited for me when no one else did, because you were worth waiting for." The words weren't in the script exactly. They were close, but softer, truer. The director didn't yell cut. He didn't need to.
Ow.
Everyone knew the scene had ended when Anna stepped forward and leaned her head gently against Keanu's chest. And he wrapped one arm around her, resting his chin lightly on her hair. Silence fell across the studio. Even the crew behind the monitors felt it, a stillness so powerful that it reached into something personal for each person watching. One assistant had tears in her eyes. Another gripped his headset tighter. No one moved for several seconds. When the director finally whispered cut, it wasn't a command. It was a release. Anna stepped back, her eyes wet but calm. Keanu smiled at her and she smiled back. As they walked off the set together, people clapped, not the usual kind of clapping for a great performance. This was quieter. More like appreciation, respect. That wasn't just acting. One of the crew members whispered, "It was healing," another replied. Later that day, Anna sat alone under a quiet tree behind the studio. The sun filtered through the leaves, and the breeze played with the edge of her script. Keanu found her there, holding a small folded piece of paper. "The note?" he asked gently. She nodded. "I want to read it to you before I let it go." He sat beside her without a word. She unfolded the paper, the ink slightly smudged. Her voice was low. "I feel invisible. I feel like I'm not enough. Like they see my face, but not my heart. I don't know how much longer I can carry all of this alone. I'm tired of pretending I'm fine when I'm not. I wish someone would see me before it's too late." She folded the paper again and whispered, "That was the night you waited." Outside, Keanu didn't speak. He just held out his hand. She gave him the note, and he lit a small match from his coat pocket. Together, they watched the paper burn gently in a metal tin by the tree. Anna breathed in deeply, then let it out. "I think I'm finally free," she said. "Not because the pain is gone," Keanu replied, "but because you didn't hide it anymore." What neither of them knew was that this moment, simple and small, would echo louder than any scene in the movie, and it wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something neither had dared to imagine. The light they gave each other weeks passed. The film wrapped quietly, without a big party or a loud farewell. It didn't need one. Something more lasting had already happened. Something behind the scenes, between the frames, in the stillness most. People Miss Dodina sat in her apartment days after the final shoot, the script now closed and stacked in a box. There was no makeup on her face, no cameras in the room, just sunlight through the window and the soft hum of the city below. Her phone buzzed. A message from Keanu. Said only, "Step outside." She opened the door slowly. He stood there. On the sidewalk, a soft smile on his face, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You didn't think I'd just disappear, did you?" he asked gently. Anna blinked. "I thought maybe the story was over." Keanu shook his head.
No, that was just the
movie. They sat on her front steps, sipping coffee as the wind moved softly around them. Neither of them needed to fill the silence. They had learned by now silence was where truth lived. Anna turned to him. "I've been thinking a lot lately about how easy it is to lose yourself, how fast it happens." Keanu nodded slowly. "Sometimes we don't even know we're fading." "But you saw me," she whispered, "before I did." "I saw you," he said, "because I'd been there too." Her eyes filled, not with tears of pain, but tears of understanding, of gratitude. What if, she said softly, we all just need someone to wait outside for us once in a while? Keanu didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Then let's be that for others. Let's notice. Let's wait." In the months that followed, the film released a quiet success. Critics praised the performances, calling them hauntingly real. Fans wrote letters not just about how the story moved them, but about how they saw themselves in it. Their quiet pain, their private battles. But what touched Anna most was one letter from a teenage girl. It read, "I was going to give up. Was sure no one saw me. Then I watched you. For the first time I felt seen. Thank you for not pretending. Thank you for being real." Anna folded that letter and placed it in a small box with the match Keanu had used to burn her note. Not to bury her past, but to honor how far she had come, Keanu continued to live his quiet life, helping people in quiet ways. He never told the story of the trailer or the long night he waited. But Anna did, gently in interviews, in conversations. In the book she one day wrote about resilience called Someone Waited. The world began to see Anna not just as a star, but as a voice, a heart, a woman who didn't break when it got hard, but instead became the light someone else might follow through the dark. And it all started with one night. She cried behind a closed door, and someone kind simply waited outside.